Hello, this is Chuck Solomon, and welcome to the Candidate Experience Podcast, where we focus on the job candidate journey from apply to onboard and the space in between. Let's get started.
I took something kind of from the military on this one. It was leave no candidate behind. And I felt that initiative drew our engagement scores with candidates up significantly.
Welcome to the Leave No Candidate Behind episode, where Bruce Mattos, talent acquisition leader at Phoebe Putney Health System, is my special guest. Listen in as Bruce shares his many insights on how to improve the candidate experience. We cover a number of important topics in this episode, including silver medalist candidates, brand ambassadors, coaching hiring managers, and more. Enjoy. You care about the candidate experience, but have you ever wondered exactly how to bring your company to that next level and offer a world-class experience to your candidates? It's not easy. Fortunately, candidate.fyi can help. Their solution guides candidates through your hiring journey, enhancing transparency and communication at every touch point. You'll also gain valuable insights on what's working and what's not with your hiring process. Best of all, it integrates directly with your ATS. Head on over to candidate.fyi and see how to transform your company's candidate experience today. Hey, Bruce, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Chuck. How are you today?
I'm very well, thanks. Where are you? I'm not even sure where you're located.
I'm located in beautiful Albany, Georgia, which is in the southwestern part of the state near the Alabama and Florida border.
Gotcha. So please let listeners know a little bit about yourself, where you work, and your current role.
Certainly. So my name's Bruce Mattos. I'm a talent acquisition leader, and I've been recruiting for the better part of 25 plus years and leading diverse recruitment teams. I currently work for the Phoebe Putney Health System, which is a nonprofit community hospital system. And I am currently the Associate Vice President, Corporate Director of Talent Acquisition.
Awesome. Can you also let us know how did you get into this talent space? And I'll preface this by saying, on your LinkedIn profile, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, is it says something to the effect of like recruitment innovator. So I'm interested to hear more about that. But really, how did you get started in this whole talent space?
Sure. When I was finishing up the United States Army, I had a very difficult transition back into the civilian world, as many of our veterans do. A unique opportunity had been presented to me from my former college roommate. He was working for a technology firm, and they needed a technical recruiter. And clearly, coming out of the Army and coming out of college, I had a ton of technical recruitment experience, which I had zero of. But I went ahead and I went through the interview. I met with the leadership team. And interestingly enough, my first recruitment mentor had said, this job has nothing to do with technical recruitment, everything to do with relationship management. And
Sure.
I fell in love with it from that perspective is you get to work with people. And, the other piece that was so rewarding, especially early on, is you're connecting people to new opportunities. So you're helping people find jobs. And that's how I kind of climbed or fell into the space. And I've really never turned back.
Awesome. So I think your background is very similar to mine in how I got into the recruiting space as well. I had a friend who said, similar to you, who said, hey, you should really be a technical recruiter. I'm like, well, I don't know anything about that. And so I did the same thing. I went to the interview and I was forthright and said, I don't know all this technology stuff, hardware, software, etc. And they said, don't worry, we'll teach it all to you. And guess what? You don't need to know all about all these things. And like you said, this is about relationships. So I would definitely echo what you said. So, and I fell into it too as well. So, um,
It's famous last words scenario, Chuck. And I think that the people that, like you and myself, who fall into the industry, we actually fall in love with it. There's so much good to be gained out of it. And not everybody starts out on the technical side, but I think the benefit of starting as a technical recruiter is it can segue into so many other industries, higher education, clinical, laboratory, science. You get the chops because you learn so many technologies.
yeah, one of the things and I've not done any recruiting for quite some time, but one of the things I really enjoyed about it is just learning new things. And with anything technology, it's always evolving, changing, improving. You know, there we're talking about AI, artificial intelligence today, but we weren't talking about that back unless you were watching science fiction back in the day. So I love the challenge of learning new things. And I also love when, you had really, really smart people go ahead and explain things, because I'd often say, explain this to me like I'm a fifth grader. And so I could understand things and learn things on my own. So great. Shifting gears a little bit, I wanted you to, if you could describe a challenge that either your current organization or past has experienced with some aspect of the candidate experience and what you all did about it.
Yeah, I was thinking about this because in a previous organization, I think the worst thing that you can do to people is ghost them. And I feel that a lot of organizations, small, medium, and large, just drop the ball on the candidate and don't get back to them, don't give them updates, don't provide them with any information. And so you really do apply, you put your name in the hat and it goes into a big black hole. And I think for me, it was a challenge because then you had people writing into the president or CEO saying, hey, I've applied to numerous jobs and I haven't heard anything. So what gets compounded is the perception in the public, especially if it's a large community-based company or a company that's been around many years. There is a reputation to uphold, and if people from the community and other universities, for example, in the area that are putting out new grads and that are doing maybe clinical rotations, or they're doing internships with you, and then they turn around and apply, and then no one ever contacts them. So I think that was a unique challenge that one of my former companies had faced. And I think for me, the creativity was there of how to approach it, was leveraging the actual technology that you had to
Sure.
make sure, one, that everybody got a confirmation that their application was received, as well as that confirmation provided a timeline on what to expect next. The other part of it is that utilizing that same technology is, if you know you're not going to move forward with the candidate, don't keep them out in limbo. Don't hold on to their resume for a week, a month, 2 months, and then disqualify them when you fill the job. If you know you're not moving forward with somebody because they don't meet the qualifications, or it's someone you're not going to rehire, or for whatever reason, send them a notice. Just send them a thank you for applying. Unfortunately, we're moving forward with other candidates, or you unfortunately do not meet the minimum qualifications of the job. Send that to people. What I think a lot of people don't understand, Chuck, is most of our recruitment departments in the US are dramatically understaffed. So we can't
Yep.
pick up the phone and phone every single applicant. It's just not feasible. But we can leverage the technology of a text. We could leverage the technology of an email. And I think what we started to see in making sure that we were getting quality messages out to people timely is the call into senior leadership stopped. And we actually put a note in there: if you have any questions, please contact the recruitment team. And we had set up just kind of a call log that who would answer that call and who would take those calls when people did call in, and provide them with some basic feedback. So I guess I took something kind of from the military on this one. It was leave no candidate behind. And I felt that that initiative drew our engagement scores with candidates up significantly. And I still have talked with some of my former recruiters to that organization, and they in turn have taken that on with them. Is kind of taking that approach, just leave no candidate behind.
I love it. I love your borrowing of the phrase and updating it. Leave no candidate behind. I think that's great. I think what you mentioned there about the leaving was it an actual phone number or an email address that you left, or both?
It was a phone number. It was a phone number. We had a recruitment hotline.
That was great. Like, in an average week, like how many calls might come in?
So in the beginning, I'd say we got maybe 30 to 40 calls a week, and it was the recruitment team. We spread out and rotated how we would take the calls. I would
Right.
even take some of the calls, especially maybe some of the more unpleasant ones or the more challenging calls that came in. But the numbers actually started to drop off, and actually the recruiters liked being on the rotation to take those calls because it got them engaged with people.
Right.
And we actually started to surface some silver medalists or bridesmaid candidates out of it
Right.
who applied to a job, and maybe they didn't put their best foot forward with their application. They were just calling for guidance.
Right. I love that. I think that is, I mean, it's such a like a novel thing, like, get on the phone with people and talk to them. I think a lot of companies would probably shy away from that. But good for you all for doing that. I think, well, as evidenced by the call volume going down over time, that you were doing something right there. So, but and to your point about the silver medalist candidates, like I say this to folks on my team, oftentimes during the interview process, people aren't great at interviewing because they don't have a lot of experience doing it, and they might not, seem to put their best foot forward. However, they might actually be a great employee. The converse is also true too. Some people that interview really well might not be the best staff person down the road. But yeah, I think there's always a little bit of, I don't know, maybe anxiety or stress around the interviewing, and people just they haven't done it. It's something that's not something like tying their shoes every day. It's not like they can do automatically. So, but yeah, I like what you did there. That's Bruce. That sounds like a great solution. And also, your leaders not having to get calls from people is probably great on you and your team as well.
I think that comes with the relationship and building trust with your senior leadership team. Is we're going to take this on. Candidate engagement, whereas it's everybody's responsibility, it starts with recruitment. If with the recruitment team, talent acquisition team, you have to put your best foot forward there, because it really can set a bad example as someone goes through the process. And many organizations have studied why people quit. That means they're quitting within the first 6 months. You can
Right.
you can draw some heavy percentages towards that whole recruitment process, interview process, onboarding process was not a pleasant experience for the candidate. So, tackle that one on.
Yeah. Totally agree. You know, we've talked mostly about sort of the recruiter side of things, but hiring managers or the interviewing managers also have a a big part in the hiring process. I'm wondering, how do you talk with hiring managers about the importance of good, positive candidate experience?
So this is interesting. You and I, when we recruit or when we go to events, when we participate, we're a brand ambassador.
Yep.
Um, what's interesting is our hiring leaders many times, our hiring managers, do not look at themselves as brand managers. Well, that's up to you to bring the candidates and help close them. And I've kind of turned the table on them. I said, you're actually the first point of contact. Your first touch point with the candidate sets the tone for your future with that person as an employee, or it sets up your reputation in the community as a real brand ambassador. So I think it's more of coaching the hiring manager about the importance of being a brand ambassador, about how to treat candidates with kindness. Because a candidate, they're going to talk, and nowadays your interview questions are put out there on Glassdoor and Indeed and in
Yep.
various chat groups, and also it's kind of like the professor ratings that are out there
Right.
at schools about this professor or that professor. Well, believe it or not, you're seeing actual hiring managers. Hey, if you interview with this guy or gal, you need to make sure you do this, this, and this. And I think that's people wanting to quote unquote beat the system. So I coach our hiring leaders truly about the importance of them being that first touch brand ambassador after the handoff from the recruiter. Because if they treat people well, then that person's going to want to come work for them and be a part of the organization. If they really do a good job of explaining what the unit does or what their department does or what the role does, that candidate, it lessens the doubt or the angst that you said many people have in an interview. If that hiring leader does a really good introduction at the beginning of the interview or conversation, it will help put a candidate at ease. And
Yep.
also, when people are relaxed, they're more likely to show their true authentic self, which is what you want in an interview. So I like to coach hiring managers about their role as a brand ambassador and setting the tone for your future relationship if this person becomes your employee. Now, hopefully, our odds have gotten better over time with interview to hire ratio and candidate to interview ratio. But we're in high volume positions like food services, janitorial, administrative. You're probably going to have a lot of people that we're going to turn away. But the manager is going to probably still be talking to maybe 3 to 5 candidates in the course of an interview. And the fact that he or she treats each of those candidates with kindness and dignity and respect, the ones that you don't hire, you treated them well, so they're more likely to want to come for a future job there, and they're more likely to talk positively about your organization. So that's how I use the phrase. I'm going to coach my leaders on being that brand ambassador.
Yeah, great stuff there, Bruce. I think, as you said, people can, with the internet, social media, etc., people can leave reviews all over the place. They're just a couple of mouse clicks and keyboard away from either boosting your organization's brand or diminishing your organization's brand. Recall a recent guest I had. They were a consumer brand, so they were very, very much wanted to maintain their not only the employer brand but also the consumer brand too, because you don't want to tick people off and who may be your customers and your fans, but can easily get turned off by a poor candidate experience. So great stuff there. Bruce, if you had just one tip for other companies on how they could improve their company's candidate experience, what would that tip be?
Yeah, I think there's no real silver bullet, but one thing that I think that you could do, and this is at that onboarding point, and I think that organizations that aren't rolling out the welcome wagon, you're adding to the angst, you're adding to a bad first day of school, You're building up something that you could take away just by a little prep work. And that would be that hiring leader, one, sends a welcome letter to that new employee, telling him, I look forward to you coming into this role. We've laid out your first week for you. Here's some of the things that you're going to be doing as a part of that welcome letter, kind of having a mini orientation schedule of the things that they can expect. So I call it it's like a Guy Fieri's trash can nachos. It's your hiring leader's fully loaded welcome letter. And I'm not talking, do your benefit selection. Here's where the bathroom is. No, this is a fully loaded welcome letter where, hey, I'm excited to have you on my team. I know that you're going to impact us in big ways in the following role, and then literally laying out what the first 2 to 3 weeks are going to look like. Some people that they're going to meet with, and communicating that, because that's the welcome. That's the red carpet that a lot of companies miss out on. SHRM has done numerous studies on this, and organizations that spend less time on the welcome, and you bring people in, and the phrase, you're drinking water through a fire hose. Well,
Yep.
a lot of those people now, as we transition through new generations, if they're going to quickly say, oh, my onboarding was toxic. And the word toxic comes into play in toxic workplace. Well, you can do your homework in advance and get rid of that. I think it's also that hiring leader drives culture in their department, and ensuring that the staff welcomes those new employees and treats them with kindness. We don't have to eat our young anymore. We don't have to take people through hazing. And having served in the military, you got some unique welcomes, and you see the nightmare stories in pro sports about how they welcome the rookies. Well, guess what? People have options in today's marketplace, and some people, they're not worried about options. They're worried about their own well-being. So give them a welcome, bring them in, and make them feel good even before they hit that organization. And I think that it will set your expectations with that new employee, and you as a leader are going to be able to better develop and grow that person because you've established trust before they hit the floor.
Great stuff there, Bruce. Bruce, if people wanted to get a hold of you, how could they do so?
Absolutely. Thank you. Please look me up on LinkedIn. I'm an open networker. I love to connect and share ideas in the talent space on the things that we can do better. So add me on LinkedIn. That would probably be the best way. My wife would kill me if I gave out my phone number.
Understood. Well, I thank you. I thank you for your service. And I really like how you're able to apply some, stuff that you learned in the military into civilian life. I think that was great. And I appreciate your time and your insights today as well.
Thank you for the opportunity to share with you. And I hope that some folks come away with some fresh ideas or fresh perspectives, or just something to try that they haven't done so.
Great. Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thanks for listening to the Candidate Experience podcast. You can reach out to us via our website, thecx.xyz. That's thecx.xyz.